Welcome back to the HGC. We just finished watching Expert take the first win in a best-of-5 series against Fnatic. We're gearing up for game number 2. If you have any advice for Fnatic going into game number 2, what would you say?
Do what you do best, go in and fight. It's like, I was a bit disappointed, I have to say. I feel Expert played very well. I think you cannot just simply say, okay, Fnatic had problems here, but I think you also have to admit that in this case, Expert just knew exactly what they wanted. They knew how they wanted to play the battleground, and they forced it upon Fnatic, and Fnatic wasn't able to break out of it. And in order to break out of it, they have to look for the fight, and they didn't do that.
Well, if you go with my pleb view, I just say Probius OP, obviously. So let's van him out. Let's talk about the top healers currently in HGC Europe.
Moment, yeah, like you are basically just like saying, I didn't get my Murky. If I don't get Murky, then at least I'm gonna go in on the Probius.
100% win rate currently with Probius, broken hero. So let's talk about the healers, man. Curson did a wonderful job in game number 1, and these are the top average healers currently in Europe. Carson, Wolf Joe, and your boy Bakery on Dignitas. Carson's been getting a lot of Malfurion, which obviously helps out all the stats, but it's really kind of an interesting thing when you look at leagues. Your support players have to be consistent and on point for your team to be successful. So I love pointing out healers when we get the chance.
Also, one of the things I want to just quickly point out here, since we're talking about this, is actually like about healing numbers. So we have talked in the past a whole lot about like how many deaths, kills, and participation rates healers have. So there's like a lot of aspects how you can look at the performance of a player, but the raw numbers in healing put out, that is actually very impressive what we saw there. And that's not really the list that I expected. So yeah, kudos to these guys.
Yeah, especially when it opens up your tanks to be aggressive. Bad Benny loves being aggressive, and you have to have a healer there that's always there to help you out. Let's figure out where we're going to game number 2. Of course, the battleground choice will be up to whoever would like to pick it, or of course, first pick here for Fnatic. So they decided to take first pick, which gives the battleground pick over to Expert here, and we are going to Towers of Doom.
I mean, it's pretty true. It's one of the things that we oftentimes have, especially in the European scene, that the team would prefer to go into the first pick and just like leave the map pick over to the opponent.
Yeah.
I feel one of the teams that can really highlight where that might be a risk is Expert, just because they are very, like other teams call it sometimes cheese heavy, they talk it special strategies.
An Expert calls it the future. This is what you're going to be playing for the next couple of weeks, boys and girls. Probius and Butcher, let's go.
But think about what we just saw. We saw them picking Braxis first. It's a map that we see the teams practice a little bit more, but compared to others, it's still not a super popular map. Now we're going on Towers. We also have seen that at Western Clash in the last season. But it's still none of the standard maps, so to say. So this is where Expert thrives, and that is making it a bit more dangerous for Fnatic, of course.
So if you're Fnatic, when you're playing against what we would consider cheese or different battlegrounds, if you could secure a win on one of these battlegrounds, you're usually feeling pretty comfortable going into the later stages of a best-of-5 series. So Fnatic still has their 2-minute Spider Queen underneath their wing. It's okay to give away the battleground, especially here when you have one more loss that could happen if you go down 0-2. So Expert and Fnatic will now begin the draft. Fnatic getting their first ban. Again, Tassadar being picked up on Braxis holdout, but suddenly when you go to normal battlegrounds, again, his priority continues to go up.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And I want to come back to the point that we made going into the show here today, where we said that for Fnatic this is a bit rough. Keep in mind, they come off that loss at Western Clash. They had a great season before. Then it was a very disappointing offline event for them. And for them, it would have been so much better facing off in their first round now against a team that is weaker. But who do they go up against? They go up against Expert, a team that challenged them already in the last season. So right now, this is a really tricky situation for them, because that really sets the tone for the next few weeks. And if you lose such an important match now, that is going to be a problem. So Fnatic really needs like focus on their strength and say like, guys, okay, how do we beat them now?
That's a good point. Think about Dignitas in week number 1 going down to Misfits 3-0. It seemed like they had a bit of a hard road. Now, of course, they did have to face off against Fnatic next, but winning in the first week of an entire 5-week span is pretty important, and it also gives your team confidence, morale, things that you need.
Yeah, and that's something that Fnatic needs right now. And it's not only that, it's also who you go up against, because we could envision at the end of the season going into the next ball a situation where all of a sudden we have Expert trying to just like push into that top 3, you know, like just like push in and just like steal one of the spots away that usually the top 3 teams play around. So that is an issue for Fnatic. So this is a very, very important match for both of these teams.
Tracer has been manned out by Expert. For you at home, if you haven't been watching Europe lately, Schwimpy has been on a Tracer tear as of late.
Shrimpy is just an absolute monster. I mean, we all remember at BlizzCon how they were playing against the Koreans, and at some point, I mean, that story where Shrimpy comes up to Quacknix and says, like, boss, trust in me.
Yeah.
Give me Tracer, I got this.
I don't care how you do it, just give me the Tracer life.
And Quacknix actually throwing his own idea overboard and saying, like, okay, with that confidence, let's go for it. And Shrimpy brought home the win. So that is something where Expert says, like, yep, we've seen that. We've seen it also, like, in scrims lately. Not gonna happen.
Dehaka will be the first pickup. Going to Wubby. That's the global play that Fnatic is known for.
Yes, here we go. I like it. So Dehaka, normally would think in terms of priority, maybe a different hero that you could use here. But at the same time now for Fnatic, it is not only a strong hero. Dehaka is always a great addition to any composition, especially the bigger the map is, the stronger he becomes. But he's also a huge comfort pick.
And if you're expert, you're thinking about the Falstad now suddenly, maybe in your first and second pick. We have seen ADRD run Falstad in the past, but it is something that you need to worry about when you're playing against Fnatic. Fnatic is not shy with running double global, especially on a map like Towers of Doom. So Team Expert definitely thinking about that now. Malfurion, I think, is a lock-in choice no matter what for them. It's just been so successful so far with Kirsten.
One of the sexiest games that I've seen from Fnatic in the past. It was a sexy play. I liked it. They ran Dehaka, Falstad, ETC with a stage dive, and a Bright Ring there. It was full global. That game was crazy. It was all over the place. It was just like you never saw what was happening there.
Expert's going to go Vala Ariel here for the first pick. Ariel moving up heavy for them. Is this an Expert thing? Is this a new EU thing?
I think Ariel in general is getting a little bit more traction in Europe, and we have seen that it's not only about the healing numbers, it's also just if you're really good with your positioning and the detainment strikes, how much you can actually have, how much of an impact you can have in fights. So I think Ariel is a good choice. But I want to highlight again the priority that we see for Vala here. We've been talking about this earlier. She gains a lot of value right now for a lot of these teams that fall back onto her as one of the main damage dealers. She's not really in a first ban spot yet, but that might become the case at some point. We have seen a bit of a battle with a lot of teams going either for the Vala or going for the Greymane. Both of them have a very high participation when it comes into the pickings on the draft.
And Vala is just a good solid battery here for Ariel to get that hope beam built up so you can get the heals in. You don't have to lock in a golden. It doesn't really give away with the foundation of what your team's going to be. It just works so well.
The synergy with Ariel is also fantastic. There's no doubt about that. And
okay.
All right. The name of the game.
Shield meta.
Hashtag shield meta. Zarya and Tassadar both being picked up. Yeah. We're talking again about... what do you throw in here? Yeah, I'm just like thinking of what else you could throw in there to just make them absolutely unkillable. This is just... If I see this is one of the things where I already know. If you see this in the opponent's draft, you're like, oh my god, why me?
Yeah.
This is exactly the moment.
So they start banning or blaming your drafter. What are you doing, man? Okay, so Rhaegar's going to highlight. Fnatic has a couple choices to kind of peel out into this. They can go with the standard Greymane that we've seen a lot in the past. They also can move into Zul'jin if they would like.
Yep.
There's a lot of tools that you suddenly become empowered just because you have that Tassadar.
I mean, Greymane is the hero that you would usually look for damage for Fnatic. I mean, if we're talking Quacknix on him, he's an absolute beast, pun intended. He's a monster on the hero. Like, that was his trademark hero for a long, long time. He was very well known to play like 2-3 heroes. He was rocking the Vala quite a bit, the Falstad, but Greymane was really his boy. So at this point, how is Fnatic rounding out this draft? They have the shields, they have the sustain, and they need still to have a little bit more damage here, of course. And then on the other side, Expert going into the double support here. And this is something that we talked about earlier. This is what we see a lot. Oriel, Malfurion, Taken. This is getting kind of crazy. And that makes a lot of sustain also available for Team Expert going up against a double shield composition. And they are banning out not only the Rhaegar, but with the ban on Lucio, Fnatic is now all of a sudden in a situation where they have to think about, okay, what do we add? Do we add something else here? Like,
and Johanna just makes sense here. You see Zarya and Tassadar, you know an auto-attacker is going to be picked. Something to empower those auto-attacks. So Johanna, bringing down those blinds, being in the armor spot, is a really solid hero for just making sure that they can handle the auto-attacker coming, which leaves their 5th slot in a spot where they can counterpick whatever they do come their way. They can kind of hone in on the auto-attacks if they have to, or if a mage gets picked up, suddenly a Nubrak becomes very appealing.
Yeah, definitely true. Like, we have seen that a little bit more. And guys, if you haven't really watched too much European Heroes of the Storm since we had the Western Clash. This is really what has happened in the last few weeks. We have seen a huge focus on getting double support compositions in, getting a lot of Zaryas with the Tacitas in for like the shields. And yeah, there we go, having the Greymane in play as expected. Probably going to be on Quarknix. We have the Charism now too. And Charism actually, I like it a lot here because it kind of makes sense. He can at least get a bit of single target damage into the composition, and that's something that you really need with this as well.
Charism here as a turret. 7-side strike can also be great against Johanna, but Palm, if you think there's some way, somehow they're going to break through your shields, you can actually make a play for it too, so Charism just fits in well. Now, if you're looking over to Expert, what are you thinking here for their final pickup? Do they move into maybe globals?
Damage.
Damage? What about Falstad, do you think?
I mean, if they have Walla as an auto attacker, I suppose they have their wave clear here also set with Johanna Vala. I would really feel like damage is one of the things they need. A false set might be something if they say, okay, we need a global still available. I wouldn't mind a mage though. A little bit of more bursty damage would probably do well with them.
Could work here for Expert if they want to move into that route. You get the poke available on your towers, and if you ever do actually get a lockdown on one of the supports, you can bring the burst damage. However, it is pretty hard for the poke to actually be effective. Leoric is going to be the choice.
I mean, Leoric can actually deal out a fair amount of damage, especially with the increase, like with him reaching 20, for example.
Sure.
That's another big point for him. They need to kill something. So the question is, how do you do that? You can lock targets down. You have a couple of tools available. If Leoric then later on with a good entomb keeps someone in place, and especially Vala can deliver the damage, that would be really important for them. But breaking through all of the shields is not going to be easy. And you could even see that palm. And if Charism goes palm instead of 7-sided, then how do you drop that target? So that's going to be really tricky for them here. I'm really wondering if they're going to have the damage output with this, but they have a huge amount of wave clear that could really help them to just push Fnatic back early on and gain momentum on the map.
That's why I kind of wanted to lean a little bit more towards the false head play here, because one, you're able to get global pressure to kind of match it to Haka, and then two, you get isolation. Zarya, Tassadar, and Charism are probably going to be within the area of Greymane at all times, but if they ever do move away from there, you can have to sudden 2-on-1 and maybe get a pick or two.
I was thinking also along the lines of a Jaina maybe again,
sure,
that you can just get the burst damage in and really deliver that. Breaking through the shields is going to be hard one way or another, but like having this many shields available on the opponent's side, you kind of want to make sure that the fight is not too long drawn out, because then you're going to run into a lot of trouble. You need to get the burst damage in and kill a target. And Jaina could have helped here. Then again, Leoric, as we said, wave clear is great. His damage output is also not too shabby, and he has also the entomb that can be followed up. So that might be something that they're thinking about right now. But yeah, I'm curious to see how that game goes. We definitely have a huge change to what we've seen in the last part of the season.
Yeah, in terms of actual fighting style, both teams are matched in terms of sustain and being able to have their wave clear and set up, but Fnatic's shields will really put them over the top here when they get their engages. So let's find out what's happening here. In game number 2, we are moving into Towers of Doom. Now, do remember this is a best-of-5 series. Expert is currently up 1-0 over Fnatic.
And as we're heading into the game, ladies and gentlemen, to the left side, being up 1 game in the best of 5 is once again Team Expert. ADRD on the Ariel, Blade on Leoric. We have Nick on Vala, Curse on Malfurion, and besides a pause, we also have Bad Benny on the Johanna. But that gives me an opportunity to talk about something else.
Talk about it.
We have, once again, when we're looking at the damage, our hyper carries. And I really feel Charism, double shield, that Greymane, like that is one monster I don't want to have in my backline. Vala is amazing if you can support her, but Greymane in that backline, how do they deal with the Greymane?
There is good news though. If Expert somehow kills Greymane, or kills maybe Tassadar, the fight does start to fall slightly for Fnatic, but the question is, how do you break through them? I like the variant ban because we don't normally see Shieldbreaker like we should, but if there was a team that would pull out Shieldbreaker, it would be Expert. So the ban really made a lot of sense here for Fnatic. They're putting everything on Quacknix, and they're like, all right, man, we believe in you. Good luck.
But for me, the question still remains, like, how do you deal with Greymane? Because you have a couple of blinds, you can try and use those, but there's not that many stuns available that really help. But I mean, I guess we're going to find out in the game. We're going to head in. So, ladies and gentlemen, game number 2 in the series is starting up once again.
All All right, here we go. You just introduced Expert on the left. They will be in the blue to the far right. Fnatic in the red. Protect the Greymane comp. Smexy will be heading up here with the Kerosene pick. Breeze will be on Zarya. Quacknex will be on the Greymane. And boy, is he ready to show off some plays. Schwimpy will be on the Tassadar. And last but not least, Wubby. Continuing to be that guy that's always in the off lane, just being successful.
And Quacknex at this point also once again coming out as the leader of the team here, because it's not only that he's the main drafter for the team. Of course, he gets influenced by someone like Wubby, who has great game knowledge. But at the same time, he puts himself now in a spot where more or less, I don't want to say everything, but there's a lot that actually hinges at him. A lot of the responsibility is on his shoulders now to make those big plays with all the support that he has. So he's really just like following up on the leader role he has in the team.
The DRD and Nick will come down here to help push with the pressure. Now, Zarya is one of those heroes in the early game that you want to apply pressure with. You get that shield built up, you get the energy being available, you can drop down on the turrets and get that energy available from you. So Fnatic is going to force a response from Expert, and so far they've brought down their Vala, Malfurion, and Ariel combo. Double support comps with Vala would typically just have them consistently following around Nick here. Nick is going to be very far forward, as he should be, and the supports are going to have to be on point.
Yeah, and right now, also, if you're currently looking at what we have in terms of talents on level 1, Charism going immediately into Iron Fist makes, of course, perfect sense for him. I mean, right now you have already double shield with the Zarya and the Tassadar. Charism himself is going to be delivering a little bit more single target damage to what Greymane puts out there, so that's going to be an important one. I'm personally a little bit curious to also see how Vala is going to spec. I could definitely see him going slightly away from the standard multi-shot build.
Do auto attack build? It's going to be sustained anyways. You might as well get your stacks going up.
Yeah, like the thing is, normally I'm I really usually hate in most compositions if you see a Vala going for creep, because it just does have his impact so late in the game. Normally when you want to use it, it's in double support comps, ideally with double frontline, which is kind of what we have here, and on smaller maps. So it's definitely an option. I'm not saying it's not necessarily like the better option here, but it's something that if he feels more confident getting the damage out with that setup, I would not necessarily mind it here. I think this is one of the moments where you could pull it off.
I'm having flashbacks to Dorm, man, with you talking about Creed the Hunter and just going off about that talent. By the way, one ultra is grabbed at the top right, bottom ultra is being grabbed here by Smexy, and Fnatic and crew, during that Creed the Hunter talk, they took away the opposing mercenary camps away from Expert. Their clear mercenary camps are actually much better than Expert just because of Kerosene and Greymane. They clear out those Sapper camps much faster.
So we have actually both of the two altars now taken. You see that Vala actually went into punishment right now, but he held it back for a long time. I'm pretty sure he was thinking about at least using the option. The problem that you have with Creed is just like the benefit comes so late in the game, and most people, they don't understand this. They want to be like, you know, the damage dealer. They want to be the hyper carry for their team, and they have that thought process, which is fair, but you need to make sure that you get to that point and you have the support to pull it off. But with the rest of the talents here, the Laws of Hope taken for Johanna, also the fealty onto death, which will allow Leoric to sustain himself in the lane a lot more than even without it. Yeah, at this point, like going up against Wubby. But that is definitely going to help Leoric here, especially in the laning phase.
This bottom lane will consistently have aggression from Fnatic and Team Expert, as their carries will be down here, and so will the supports. The constant struggle between the bottom lane. The reason why they are in the bottom lane here is because of those mercenary camps. They want to make sure that they're able to contest them, but also grab them if the option becomes available. ADRD being focused down here. Nick bolting away. Quacknex is being hyper aggressive, and it's really working out for the team here, as Smexy is always following up with the heal and of course his own punches from that Iron Fist.
Yeah, the thing is that you mentioned Quacknex. He definitely is the one who needs to make the plays right now. He needs to be aggressive, and this is where trust comes into play. You need to trust your supports and your teammates to really have your back. They're going for the camp. There's the invade. The Tainment Strike already used. Bad Benny on the spot. They're fighting. Schwimpy moving in. Johanna a bit isolated there. The camp goes to Fnatic. The drag comes in. Kirsten is in trouble.
He's been dragged over, and he will fall. Quacknex bringing damage on Blade as well. He will be able to Leoric away. Oh, but Smexy going in, and 2 kills awarded to Fnatic. Big 5-man rotation from both teams, and Fnatic walks away with the bigger punch.
And capitalizing again on the global, something they were missing in the last game, so that the Haka value already there. And not only did they get the double kill, but they also got the camp and were able to push that. But Breeze finds himself in a bit of trouble here down to the bottom of the map. It's also interesting to see him on that Zarya right now. I mean, the dynamic works with Bubi, of course, running the Dehaka, but it's not really a hero that we see Breeze on as often.
It's too anti-Breeze for me, man. It just doesn't make any sense. He's sitting back, playing a range character, and he's not power sliding in. What is this world? Alter being grabbed in the bottom, and Fnatic has shown some anger here in game number 2 as the pressure continues to show for them, as finally the Alter is grabbed by Smexy. All 5 members down here for Fnatic, but with Dehaka being able to brush stock, he'll head the top lane and start clearing out, and a pretty big lead is in the favor of Fnatic now as they're getting close to level 9.
And now we're kind of talking about what Fnatic usually does. They're trying to dominate the game by being aggressive, by rotating, by getting kills, and by just pressuring the opponents whenever they can. They're pushing the envelope. Is this something that they are trying to do against Expert now? And Expert played a fantastic game 1 with a lot of strategy behind it, and that worked extremely well for them. This is their map pick now, though, and at this point, Fnatic is still running the show. It's not that Expert is too far behind. Let's keep in mind that on Towers of Doom, you can basically lose every single altar. If you have 1 point on that core, a comeback is always possible. So if you hit a late game spike and gain a bit of momentum, that's all that you need to turn it around.
Spectral Leech, Farfight Quiver being available at level 20 for Expert are 2 tools that could be powerful. Also, Bolt, Twilight Dream could be enough to stop shields long enough for them to focus Grey Main. But can Expert get to that late game to set up for that Towers of Doom comeback that you were just talking about? That is the question for them, and for now they're holding, but they're holding barely.
Yeah, we also have a few talents that are always a bit weird, like the momentum for Johanna taken on level 7. It's not really a talent that usually does a whole lot for you, because it's nice to think about it as cooldown reduction, but the attack speed of Johanna is just overall so slow that you very, very rarely get any measurable value out of it. Normally we're having just Condemn being used as an engagement tool. So that's something that I would have expected here, a bit of a different build now for Bad Benny. And apparently really aiming for the cooldown reduction so he can maybe get another blind in during the team fight and not going to be only restricted to 1. But it's definitely something that you usually don't see just because how little value it actually has for Johanna because of the attack speed.
Yeah, looking for an extra blind, maybe another Condemn. He is one of the main, in fact, one of the only main CCs available here for Expert besides for the Root. So Condemn going to have to be very important and used at a perfect time. Quacknitz jump in on Blade, bring out the damage. Quacknitz chase him to the side here. Blade will sustain for now with the Drain Hope, but the first altar to the top left stolen by Fnatic, and they will easily walk to the top right one and continue grabbing the pressure. 7-side strike does come out. Bad Benny low on health, but will sneak away. The Iron Skin helping him out.
Yeah, Breeze at that point not really getting the perfect ult in that could have resulted in another kill for them. But they get the altars, and now we're all of a sudden talking 16 to 36 points on the core. And that is starting to become quite significant, since we have another 3 altar phase coming up a bit later. So yeah, Expert, interestingly enough, they find themselves in a very similar situation to what Fnatic had to face on the last game. They're starting to run a bit out of time, so at some point they need to make their stand, and they need to choose that moment wisely.
The stand is going to be the Entomb into a Twilight Dream, but Nick taking pressure here from Quacknitz. Burned down. ADRD will help out with the heals as well as curse him, but Nick is just getting bullied.
Yeah, the entire time. I mean, the poor guy, he just like sits there and he has like people jumping at him like 6 days to Sunday. And first Grey Main moves in, then he thinks he's finally done with the threat, and all of a sudden Charism follows up. Now we're having Expert with an attempt to turn around though. Detainment striking a good stun against Quacknitz. And in this case, it just can move back. Dehaka did not have to burrow in to join a team fight. But always the Entomb, now an option to just lock someone down on Fnatic's side, so Team Expert has tools that they can use in these battles.
Entomb just never being here as he has to continue sucking the top and middle lane as Bad Benny comes to the help. There are 5 members down here for Fnatic to go to be engaged. The Brush Sucker has been used. Force Wall is going to lock Bad Benny on the top right. Curzon being picked up. There's 2. Can they get a third? Quacknitz moving in here. Nick gets chunked here, especially with the Gilding Cocktail, and suddenly a 4th could be in trouble.
And Leoric has been at the top lane the entire time. They left him there to get the experience and try to catch up, but that results in Fnatic forcing a battle. And this is exactly what didn't happen in game number 1. Them really going in and just taking their moments. This is way more the Fnatic that we usually see. Then they are on level 13 right now. So they have not only a massive lead when it comes to the altars, but they also have a lead in experience. Wooby should be able to get out of this, and then the team is going to rotate. Single altar right now, gonna get those shots. It's 5 in total at this point. And yeah, Fnatic looking like a different team in game number 2.
Yeah, looking much more aggressive, much more confident. 36 to 11. The Sappers pushing the bottom that Zarya could set up.
One question though, how do you like that force wall?
I like that force wall. That was pretty hot. I think it's good against Johanna in particular. You want to take it against tanks that don't have mobility, that can't get around it. And Johanna, when she tries to walk through that bush, she's getting locked down. It's a completely huge wall that she can't get around. So Fnatic switching things up here with the force wall, and it makes complete sense.
It was also a great setup for Karazim with the 7-sided here.
That's
you
true.
could really, like, the way force wall was used, it was not just simply to block him out of the spot, but to trap him inside so that Karazim could get that value. Great synergy that they used in that particular moment.
Poor Johanna, man. Getting taken out by Karazim Smexy. Showing off that 7-sided strike, the Sappers pushing in the bottom, and it's getting to a point now where Expert feels so behind that they're bringing 4 members down to actually deal with the gray main pressure that's constantly happening, and Leoric and Dahaka are just facing off in the top and the middle. The force wall, 7-sided strike was going to be a combo there, does not connect. Bad Benny goes in for a counter engage. The Aegis will be popped. Here's Nick with the strafe. Can they keep Curson alive? There's the ice block. Bad Benny tickling in as well, but here's Wubby with a drag. Oh my gosh, it doesn't stop there. Iron Skin keeping Bad Benny alive. ADRD being focused down. Big Condemn. Big Twilight. Greymane being killed. Bad Benny going in for more aggression. And here comes the Leoric just kind of waddling down here. He's going to bring in an Entomb.
Wow, Expert once again, Entomb against Wubby. He is dead as well, and Expert wins a 4 versus 5. They win a 4 versus 5 battle with a perfect execution on the Condemn, Lockdown, pushing everybody in, Twilight Dream behind it. They kill Greymane, and as already mentioned in the draft, once Greymane is down, there is only one option for you, and that is run. And run fast. In this case, they didn't run fast enough.
They tried to run, but sadly could not do it. And Expert will get a total of 12 shots on their opponents, and suddenly a 36-11 lead has been dwindled down to a 24-11, and they're grabbing pressure, and they take level 16 before their opponent.
Also, we talked about the potential use of blinds against Greymane, and that's something where Oriel on level 13 picked up the blinding flash, so something that we have to point out here. Also, I really want to say the one thing that throws me off a little bit is that we have Leoric actually going into the Burning Rage on 13. That's a very odd talent to pick, because normally you really want to get the extra damage in on your drain. It really feels like they have him currently just, in most cases of the game, you do your thing, you go in AFK, the off lane, and just like get that pressure in, you get the experience and you get the wave clear, and then we'll see you in the team fights as well. So not really as focused on damaging a single target as we would usually see them, missing out a bit on the damage but gaining more wave clear as a result. But yeah, Experts, like that fight not only did it bring them back into the game, it's brought them to a point where they are ahead in experience, but they're still behind in core points.
They are, and they're hoping to maybe get a fort taken out, but Fnatic is set up very well in terms of defense. They have their Greymane in the middle, while the Haka dealt with the top lane. The other 3 members headed the bottom here, and they're guiding these Sappers in. Applying some pressure would be good for them. An Expert suddenly back on the back foot defending, and I'm watching ADR here. What's he going to do here as Bad Benny goes in for the engage? Nick floating around. There is an altar to be contested by our teams.
Yeah, also another talent that we definitely have to mention is Nullification on level 13 for Tacita. Because with both of the teams really being this dependent on a hyper carry, Nullification against the Vala is going to be a huge deal. Once again, Force Wall with a 7-sided. Bad Benny able to survive though, gets all the heals he needs from Curson and ADRD, and the fight is still raging on as we have Leoric slowly and steadily making his way down to the bot lane to the altar, starting to join this fight.
I want to call out Curson, man. He walked into that 7-sided strike to help out with Johanna getting focused down. Now Bad Benny getting the aggression, and there is going to be a big tongue there. It is connecting. Nick in trouble. The force wall comes out, but he's able to vault around it. The explosion zone has been used as well, and Expert walks out healthier and set up to grab the altar.
That should have been a dead Vala right there. They're able to get Nick out, which is absolutely insane. Entomb against Breeze, gets stunned against the wall with a Detainment Strike. Well done, but Benny is in trouble. Benny is down. Breeze gets healed as Smexy jumps in once again. Leoric moving out, but the altar has been grabbed in the meantime.
Nick retreating for now. He has to live here with this being a 5v4. Expert has gotten everything they wanted. They got experience. They were able to get the altar. Now get away from the fight. Leoric pushing in the middle lane and the top. Fnatic starting to chase here instead of being proactive. They've suddenly become much more reactive to their opponents.
Talking also a bit the battle of the damage dealers. We have 50,000 damage on Greymane dished out and 84,000 for Vala as Blade is being caught by a great heroic use by Breeze. Yeah, very, very well done.
Instant call on the boss, they're focusing it down. Experts moving in for the engage. Where is Bad Benny? Will he be the one to start the fight? The answer is no, because he is dead right now for 1 second, and Fnatic walks away with 4 shots on the core.
Oh, the Wooby stat that we just saw there on the screen. 11 KDA for him, 11.0. This is just crazy. They really thrive with these heroes. And now 7 points against a 20. Experience still slightly in favor of Team Expert, but the last fight was a bit better. But I have to actually marvel at the ability of Expert to keep this Valla alive. The amount of pressure that is being forced onto Nick is crazy. And that he's not only able to get nearly 90,000 damage 15 minutes in, but that he's also in a position where he just doesn't die because of all the support, because of how well they time all their cooldowns. Is fantastic. They're doing an amazing job here.
Well, can they keep up with it, as one altar will be spawning here in the middle in the next 19 seconds. Dahaka will be the one to start the engage as he can brush talk in for the team, and he does so. He is on the left side. ADRD is being focused down. He will ages to the last second. There is still a drag available. The drag does miss. ADRD being focused. He's getting hope, though.
There is no way.
He's hoping to live here. The Twilight Dream's been used. It's hit multiple people. Nick looking for a kill, but the shield comes out. Here's Blade, but it's slightly too late here.
Breeze gets the shield. Blade with the Entomb. But as you said, it's too late already. We have Oriel out of the picture, and that puts Fnatic into the driver's seat. Once again, Breeze low, though, so they have to be careful. And we have both of the teams converging onto that altar in the middle. 5 versus 4 for another 35 seconds. Blade with a leech. Smexy jumping in on his Karazim, dishing out the damage, and they are poking them away, slowly pushing them backwards.
Blade keep working on the drain. Hope he is chunking down to Haka. We're going to have the flashlight coming out from Bad Benny to delay. The Entomb is not available, and Leoric will fall. Nick drops out the multi-shot, but Expert has to make a decision. Give up this altar now. They will drop down to 3 points, but they're still in the game, and both teams are near level 20.
This is a 3-point game now, which means that a single boss would finish it in favor of Fnatic. They're looking strong here. They're aiming for level 20 now, of course. Expert is on their heels when it comes to experience. But the last few fights have shown that Fnatic's synergy is starting to get a lot better here. They really time their ults and the abilities better with which they want to target someone down. They failed earlier when they were able to drag Valla in. Their heals were there for Expert, but this time Oriel, even though played really well on Expert's side, could just not escape. And one of the issues that they have is that Leoric so far was always off on the lanes trying to get that experience. Once that level 20 is hit, that's going to be a different game because he's going to join the 5-man fight a lot earlier.
Yeah, Dahaka speeds up these fights quicker for Fnatic, but Team Expert can even respawn. 20 for both our teams is about to hit. Dahaka's in the top pushing in. Leoric will be forced to deal with that push coming their way. And it's actually kind of interesting. I don't think a fort has been taken by Expert this entire game. Just constant dancing in the bottom for our teams. Now 20 is here looking at the choices. We have both there for our Malfurion. Watch him make plays. Bad Benny being focused down the force wall. Still available for Schwimpy if he would like to go in for the engage, but Brushtucker has been used by Wubby.
Yeah, and also we have now, with all the level 20 talents available, just such a different team fight. So this is going to be very interesting from Fnatic's perspective in particular. Because of that extra pressure, you've talked a lot about the talents with the Spectral Leash, the Farfly Quiver. All of these things are going to put so much more pressure on every single hero on that setup, and especially, of course, Greymane. If he falls, I said it before, it's going to be in so much trouble. And that is something that they have to watch out for.
That Farfly is helpful too when Greymane dives in. If he doesn't get the kill that he wants to, suddenly Valla can respawn and kill him on the way out. So watch out for it. 7-sided being used. Age is a bit late, but still being used. Bad Benny low on health. Big pop there from ADRD. Nick is using the strafe, poking out. Leoric was able to grab the middle altar. No one can die here for Expert. Massive Twilight Dream.
Curson. The god in this case. This is the second time he pulls that off, and it's fantastic. I also love how the Detainment Strike is used every single time that Entomb comes down. Detainment Strike within the Entomb, the stun is applied, and then they go for it. Expert with the double kill, and still 3 points on their core, but they gain momentum, and Fnatic is down to 12. This game is not over.
It's not over, but it's starting to look pretty poor here for Fnatic. The fort in the bottom right, the bell tower has been taken out. The middle one can be picked up as well if Expert goes in for the aggressive play. Leoric continues to keep up the aggression by clearing out those waves. Expert here to put them in a spot to take on Fnatic and maybe go up 2-0. Fnatic is going to need one more massive play around the altar, and then they can take out the game. But can they do it?
I really love the way that ADRD is playing this Oriole. Like his sometimes maybe a tad late when we are talking about the Aegis, but he's always there when he needs to be, and the detainment strikes have been great so far. So this is really something where Expert is shining, and Fnatic is having trouble with that. They isolate a target, like the Johanna, they get the 7-sided in, but they can't confirm the kill because of the follow-ups that we have from Expert. And then Fnatic, a little bit too far in, gets punished for being in that position, and they need to make sure that there is not another big Malfurion Twilight Dream against them.
Fnatic's going for it. We're going to be having the bolt come in from Curson. He goes in for the Twilight Dream. He's standing on the point. Nick's bringing up the Stray. Greyman has fallen.
GG.
But Fnatic is going to take it with the Expulsion Zone, and they will secure the victory over Expert. That was a gutsy call, but a call that they almost had to make there as the entire map was being taken by Expert. We are tied in this series 1-1.
I can't believe, I mean, can you imagine the faces on Expert right now? They sit there and they're like,
what?
That sucks, because what just happened is they go into the fight. What's the first thing that happens in the fight? They kill Greyman.
Yeah.
So they're like, we kind of won the fight,
yeah.
right? Leoric comes back now, so we have a 5 versus 4. The damage dealer is gone, and then Breeze is like, wait a second, what happens if I hit R? And they take the boss, steal it away. If they lose the fight at that moment, the game's over. Expert has a 2-0 lead. But nope, they steal it away. Expert comes in too late, and all of a sudden we have a tie.
Incredible ending to an incredible series in game number 2. We'll just get ready for game 3. We'll be right back. This is the HGC.